Welcome to the New York State Museum, a very unique museum that I think is often forgot about in the States, that has a lot of interesting artifacts here. It's built into the Nelson S. Rockefeller Empire State Plaza. Nelson A. Rockefeller, I'm sorry. It's so many names in this facility. It's a free museum, and I think one of the best maybe in the world at that price point. I did a brief tour of it last time. There was mammoths, original World Trade Center artifacts here, and many other New York State related stuff. Let's see what we can find about the history of New York. It's not really part of the museum, but I just love these gold escalators. Really give you that Empire State feel. Nice little classic feature here. This is a 2-floor exhibit featuring theaters. There's something going on in here, but you're in the Charles S. Fisher Gallery. This is a history of Albany section where some of the artifacts that have been found from the original Dutch settlers and the original settlers of this area have been found in various construction projects, no doubt in the construction of this building that we're in currently as well. It's a Lutheran cemetery coffin. It's the reconstruction of the lady that was in the casket. However, you'll notice, you can't tell it here. Her face is extremely small. Some of the temporary exhibits that they're featuring here is the paleo past of Albany, and also a display on the passenger pigeon, which I just found out very fascinating. One of the most abundant birds in this region for a time during its settlement, and they're all gone. Not a single one has survived past the 1900s. It's crazy. All because they were apparently quite tasty. And now we are in the Adirondack Wilderness section. If you don't want to go up into the mountains outside of the city, I guess you just come here to get an idea what it's about. Oh, there's some wild animals here. Look out. Yeah, we got a Canada lynx and a mountain lion. Ooh. And a bunny. Feels a bit of home, really. Badger. Coyotes. Technically they are timber wolves, but they're all coyotes to me. Log jam on the Upper Hudson. This would be a great theme for an amusement park ride, I would say. Yeah, I guess you could call log flumes that, but I think this crazy jam thing, there's a potential for a different type of idea. This is our section mapping out the settlement of the Adirondacks. Fortunately, it's just mainly a lot of pictures and canvases. Timbuktu. That's actually very interesting about the history of Timbuktu there. I'm not going to really go into it. I'm not a historical expert to really give it justice, but it's fascinating what certain individuals did to make sure that votes were available to all peoples. It's kind of cool. So they're showing how the various interstate highways were built and some of the rocks that were claimed from their construction. As you can see, it quickly goes through the ages. We are still only on one side. However, on the other side, I think it's more prehistoric and celebrates the Native people's history here in New York State more than the industrial history that you're seeing here. This is the World Trade Center family trailer. This is a memorial for various workers in the firefighters, police officers, public sector workers. This trailer actually was at the World Trade Center as a recovery center for bereaved families while they were going to the site to see the recovery effort. And they left it completely intact and now have just moved it to this location to be preserved. A 1921 Franklin 9B runabout. Wood frame, aluminum body, air-cooled engine, distinguished by Franklin Roundabout manufactured in Syracuse, New York. Wow. To think that they don't really make anything in Syracuse anymore. Meanwhile, this is a beautiful car. It's a shame.
Someone will have concern for the cover. Thanks to the Creator for providing the light.
Onagadi. Now then, this is the story of our life supporters, corn, beans, and squash, and why we must regard the needs of these three sisters who live to grow with one another.
This longhouse is still being constructed from what it looks like, but if you've ever been in a longhouse, they're very impressive. Said the staff are the ones that created the longhouse, but is that a staff member? That joke. As promised, a mastodon / mammoth. Unreal. This mammoth tusk is absolutely enormous. It's also, with its skull, it's just fascinating how porous the bone structure and everything is. It's very unique. It's obviously ossified, it's gone dark. I would presume that is where the tusks of that original mammoth, you can't even really make out its face. Large teeth. Massive. And of course these bones here, it's just quite impressive. They are huge. It's a rather extensive bird exhibit. I'm not going to go through every bird here. Not going to go through many at all. Kestrel. Gone forever. Passenger pigeon is already discussed. And you have the Carolina parakeet. Heath hen and the Eskimo curlew. And then a little bit more of a positive note, you have species that have come back from the brink of extinction. Most of these we know. The peregrine falcon, a massive bald eagle, and an osprey. I will admit, this museum is pretty big, because while I thought I had covered a lot, I keep finding sections that we haven't discovered yet. Now we have a little section highlighting the mineralogy of New York, and there's a lot, similar to the bird examples. Travertine calcite. I know what that is. My mother has a bathroom in that particular stone. I have taken geology. This is definitely interesting for anybody that likes that kind of stuff. The problem is none of this really you should miss. It's all fascinating. The entire history of this area. We have one last section to check out here on the main floor, and it clearly is going to take us into the 20th century, en route of the prior ones, from what it looks like. Let's have a look. Wild turkeys, beavers, all things familiar to us in this area in the current day. Possums. Museum is set up like an elaborate maze, so there is like kind of like different passageways you can take. Does the door open? No. And then suddenly a whale. For anyone that knows the history of the Hudson River and whaling, it is a significant part of this area's past. This is an Atlantic right whale. And then of course that sadly leads to the fish market and the market past of New York State, of which we now enter the port. A South Street seaport of 1840. Man, I wish I could visit a place that recreated such an environment. Well, this one kind of looks newish. It's not really got the distress and look of what a port would really look like back then. We have a nice collection of artifacts, however, from the time. There's so much history here. You really could spend an entire day in this museum. As I said, I'm not doing it justice today, and this is my second visit here. And there's so much, really, if you want to soak it all in, which I certainly would love to do one day, and really get some studied up on the history of this area, because it is fairly remarkably well realized for what is, as I said, a free exhibit, shockingly. It's a nice classic elevator here. It'd be cool if you could ride it. Fortunately, that is not an option. And then, of course, how the skyscrapers were built. It's a section honoring Black Harlem. And of course a schoolhouse, full reconstruction. This is kind of wild. I believe that if you have school trips here that it's very interactive and you can go into these rooms like the Chinese shop that we just saw and this school. Now there's two highlights to this museum if we manage to get them all in, as I'm still hustling trying to get through this main floor exhibit. I'm not really going to say much now because I do want to get everything in and we have another floor to go to, so I'm just going to let you enjoy what you see here. Finally, something that riding the A train doesn't look much different than today. No one seems happy, but you can actually sit in this setup. I love that. That was very cool. And now, of course, it's the final exhibit, which is the 9/11 artifacts. And by far, probably the most wildest thing you'll see here. Unbelievable. It's an actual turbine. Unidentified airplane pieces. Absolutely fascinating. We're going to do a quick tour of this fire engine room. Look at how ornate that is. That is something that we just don't see anymore. It is a parade carriage. And well, if you like fire engines, this is your jam without question. I'm actually overwhelmed by this museum already. It is crazy how large their collection and significant it is. We've hit just unbelievable Art Deco work here. Cartouche. And this is just the entrance to a street. Wow. All right, we are done on the main floor and we're going upstairs. Okay, we've arrived at the fourth floor. I've discovered that as there's obviously a lot above us in this building, there's a major library and archives that all exist in this building, so it is multi-purpose. Now, it is a massive open space, so we're just going to quickly look through and get a ride in on the ride here in the museum. It has a ride. Essentially just some larger reconstructions that they maybe couldn't fit on the main floor exist here. Some skeletal remains of a whale, massive sailplane glider, experimental. Ooh, carnival attractions, original Coney Island ticket booth here. Very cool. It's actually a Hoffman's Playland ticket booth from 1953, so it's not. This is a Papa Burger sign, so this isn't even that old. Or maybe it is. A&W circa 1963, so okay, there you go. Turns out that's what it looked like originally. They've gone and brought them back to life. The single ride that we have available. unfortunately missed the last ride before 1 o'clock and I have to go to the tour, so it looks like we won't get a ride on it today. However, it is going to be here for quite some time, so it's not exactly a major concern. It is beautiful, however, in this building. It's very well presented. Some old-fashioned farming implements here, some of which are still in use today. We have reached the end of the tour here. Just going to take advantage of this space to sum it up, and I have to say I'm very glad that I came back. I didn't even allot enough time for this visit to take everything in this museum. I'd say you could probably spend the better part of 1 or 2 days here if you want to take in as much information as possible, because it is comprehensive and an excellent collection. I can only think of places like in England can hold a torch to what they're doing with this museum here. It's vast, it's comprehensive, it's got a little bit of everything for everyone. Not too many interactive exhibits. I'd say that would be the one change I would probably implement here to bring it up to a little bit more of a modern museum experience. There's not many computers or screens or anything like that, which is refreshing. It still feels of its age, i.e. say the late 80s, 90s. That's kind of the feel that I got. Somewhat like a science center type of public museum, if you will. Anyway, you watched the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to do as much coverage as I could. It's actually getting a bit busy here. I'm surprised because last time it was pretty, it was not that busy. It's a Thursday afternoon and it's not school trip time. So yeah, it is fairly, it does have a few amount of people that come through this museum. So yeah, it's definitely worth coming down here to check it out. If you're in the Albany area, I highly recommend it. All right, guys. That's it for this vlog. Much longer and comprehensive than I thought. Thanks for dropping in.